Hi, everybody. And right now we're going to talk about the special election that was in the 13th district in Florida. And the Democrat was very tight race. Jolly won. He was the Republican.
He's a lobbyist.
Is
They
he?
just voted for a lobbyist.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So it's a Republican district, right?
Not heavily. I think it was recently redrawn, but I think Obama won it.
Barack Obama did win that district by 1 point,
Yeah.
but there are more Republicans now coming out to vote. See, in the presidential election, Republican vote suppressed. Midterms, they're not.
Gotcha.
So that's the problem.
So close. It's close, though.
As far as close, she only lost. Yeah, it's very close. So they're trying to say that what the problem is that this is a referendum on Obamacare. See, the Democrat lost. We can all run by hammering Obamacare because they say it's a swing district, which it's not really. Even though Obama won it, it's not really a swing district. I know that sounds crazy.
Well, the previous congressman who was Republican was there for 44 years.
Yes.
So
And they have 13% more registered Republicans in that district than Democrats. So that's a lot.
What I like is the sage analysis of the most important bit of social policy in the United States in maybe the last 25 years. And we decide whether Americans like it because the lobbyist beat the establishment Democrat like 90,000 to 87,000.
Yeah.
If she'd beaten him 88,000 to 87,000, then Obamacare would be awesome.
Yes.
But somehow, because of the fickleness of 3,000 voters out of, I'm sure, out of far less than what the voting age population is, the people who turned out, that slight turn, Obamacare disaster, Americans hate it.
Yes, and by the way, the turnout, I don't think it's registered Republicans are 13%. The turnout was 13% more Republicans turned out in this election than registered Democrats.
Right, because Republicans are determined to beat back Obamacare, and they were told that this election was a referendum on it because the Democrat actually did something. Sink is her name.
Yes.
She did something. She at least ran on it. She was like, I support it. I think it's a good law.
She was defending Obamacare.
Yeah.
She was saying that, hey, I'm for all the good things, and let's fix the bad things.
It's outrageous.
Outrageous, right? Let's fix the bad things that's wrong with Obamacare, but let's keep the good things. That was her platform. She lost, but they would want you to think that it was about Obamacare, but it really wasn't. Because here's one of the first of all, here's the guy from the Chamber of Commerce, and here's what they always say about Obamacare. Here's what they've been saying. Ready?
We need to fix these programs because if we don't, they will consume every dollar the government collects.
So that's the guy from the Chamber of Commerce saying we got to get rid of Medicare and Social Security because they're going to bankrupt us, which we all know it's not true. So that was the guy from the Chamber of Commerce, and there he was telling you we got to get rid of Medicare and Social Security because they're eating up our budget. So that's their position,
and this in Florida.
No, this is I don't know where that guy was saying that. That's at some he's at some kind of he's giving a speech somewhere.
head of the national chamber.
I think
it's the National Chamber of Commerce, right? So then that's those same people at Chamber of Commerce finance this commercial.
To pay for Obamacare, Washington is forcing seniors to endure deep cuts to Medicare Advantage. Sadly, Alex Sink supports these cuts, sticking with Nancy Pelosi, who wants to keep Obamacare intact, which cuts Medicare by $716 billion.
Okay, so that was because guess what? It really does cut Medicare by $700. They're taking money out of Medicare to pay for some of Obamacare. That's the thing Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan were talking about because they really did do that. And I was at a thing with Alan Gray. I was at a fundraiser with Alan Grayson on Sunday, and Alan Grayson gave a speech where he said when this president came into office, he had two goals, and that was one to cut Social Security, and another one was to cut Medicare. That's what Alan Grayson said. And guess what? He's trying like a son of a gun to do it. He kind of did it with Obamacare. He kind of did. They did take some money from Medicare to put it into Obamacare. They did do that. Did they?
Well, because it was when you passed Obamacare, it's unnecessary to have that money in Medicare.
Right.
Is
It's
that-
a savings.
It's just a savings. That's all it is. It's a savings. Any Republican would have supported that. Every person on the planet would have supported it. It's like having 8 tires on your car.
So guess what? The Republicans did support it. Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney's budget included those cuts.
Of course.
To Medicare, yet they pretended they didn't.
Yes.
They pretended they didn't. Okay. So what you're saying is that I'm wrong to criticize Barack Obama for taking that money out of
Totally. In this,
Medicare.
whether Barack Obama's secret Alan Grayson plan to cut Medicare and Social Security, That's a separate point, which I'm conceding might be true. But this has nothing to do with that.
The $716 billion that was taken out of Medicare was a savings, and it is a lie that was put forward during the election cycle, and they're repeating it now 6 months later.
Because it's relevant in this
But
election.
the ironic thing is, from my understanding, is that Obama has been willing to make cuts
Yes.
in entitlements, and because the Republicans are so incompetent, their own incompetence is that from happening.
Well, Frank, that's what they call that.
blocking everything.
That's what they refer to as the grand bargain. Barack Obama wants to get a grand bargain. And a grand bargain is I'll cut Medicare and Social Security if you guys raise taxes on billionaires an imperceptible 2%. That is his grand bargain. That to him, that is the ultimate winning because it proves him to be a compromiser, and there's no greater achievement Barack Obama could do than to be a compromiser. Not a guy who gets things done, but a compromiser. That's how the gears work. You don't get to be the first black president if you're a black guy who makes whitey uncomfortable. That's not how it is. So his whole thing has been making the rich and powerful comfortable with him. And this is just an extension of that. And by the way, before you go on, Frank, I don't know if you noticed, but Ben said Alan Gayson, and I didn't want that to go without mentioning it. So go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Jim.
No, Obama is willing to compromise with Republicans on his Republican health care plan.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And Frank's right. They were too dumb, simplistic, whatever. They lacked any sort of genuineness, so they didn't do it. They blew an opportunity.
Right.
And now, finally, maybe, fingers crossed, this new version of Obama now no longer even wants a grand bargain. You get your hand slapped away when playing on their turf 100 times. Maybe he's backing off. We hope.
Everything that Obama has done as president 15 years ago would be considered a Republican win.
Yes.
Yes,
Everything.
Absolutely.
Everything.
I mean, more deportations than any president ever.
Yes.
More cuts in the deficit than any president ever.
Yes.
I don't know what more they want.
Right, he doesn't stand behind. Go ahead.
I've said this on this show a million times, but we don't have a Democrat and a Republican Party in power. We have an extreme Republican Party and a moderate Republican who is Obama.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. And that's what it drives me crazy when you see guys like Joe Scarborough and anybody else criticizing Barack Obama for being a liberal.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, if you guys ever saw a liberal, you'd crap your pants, for Christ's sake. If FDR was around today, those guys would go nuts.
I don't mind it
They
when
don't even call him a liberal. They call him a communist and a socialist.
Yes.
I don't mind when Fox does it or when Rush Limbaugh does
Yes.
it. That you sort of expect
Yes.
him to. But when Scarborough, that he shouldn't at least.
No, he's supposed to be your guy, Joe.
Right.
That's supposed to be your
But
guy.
what about also in the New York Times, Maureen Dowd is always writing about how Obama refuses to work with Republicans and is above it all and refuses to compromise.
I just don't know, Frank, anybody who takes her seriously anymore.
I
Do you?
honestly think
mean,
it exposes.
She's like David Brooks. She's like David Brooks. Like she's just a joke. They're just a joke. The New York Times editorial page is quickly turning into a joke.
The hideousness of George Bush masked so much sort of corporatist status quo in members of the media.
Yes.
Because she was wonderfully tough on them, but that turned out to be too easy.
I just think that Republican thinkers have so exposed themselves as clearly their political positions are opposed, not a thought process.
I liked it when you said Republican thinkers. That was funny.
That was funny. What are Democrats supposed to do in light of this election in Florida, the special election that the Republicans are going to say now, it proves people hate Obamacare. What is this? So what are the Democrats supposed to do? Chris Hayes was talking with David Axelrod, and this is what David Axelrod said they need to do.
Well, I think there are a number of things. One is that we have to apply some of the technology and some of the approaches that we use to get up turnout in battleground states and really use analytics and research to identify where our voters are, to communicate with those people who we think we have the best chance to motivate. That's point number one.
That's point number one. I don't know what the hell he just said, but he talked for a long time. right? As we got to use metrics and blah 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 blah. What he doesn't talk about issues. And I'll just say one more thing about. All right, so I might have been wrong about the Obamacare and the $716 million they're taking out of Medicare. Billion, yeah. Okay, so all right. Well, it's nice that I learned also. I came to the show unprepared, and you think I would have known about that because that was in the thing. And but so now they're saying, so what should we do? What are the Democrats going to do? He says we got to get. What he's saying is we need to get turnout. We need to get it up, right? We need to get Democrats to come out to the polls.
I hear that.
And how do you do it? And he says, well, first of all, you use like internet metrics, and we know where people are, how to get to them. He said it in a very clunky way, which is kind of ironic that he's talking about reaching people, and he's doing it in a way that makes it hard to reach.
Yeah, that's right.
So he keeps going. He has a little bit. Here's his number 2, what the Democrats need to do to get Democrats out to the polls.
Number 2, for all this talk about how the president is radioactive, in many of the states that are in contention, particularly in the Senate race and in the South, the ability to motivate minority voters, African-American voters, is going to be very, very important. And using the president, the First Lady, and others surgically to increase that turnout is going to be very important. And then finally...
So he's saying, and then we have to get blacks and Mexicans to come out and vote for us, or Hispanics. And we're going to use, by the way, we have a black president, so that should help. That's what he just said, right? It's basically what he said.
Add a black first lady.
Add a black first lady.
Yeah.
So that should help.
Forget that.
Okay,
Well, what he's not saying is that there's only like 10 swing districts left in the whole goddamn country.
Yeah.
You know,
Because of gerrymandering.
They're all locked.
Right.
All the rest of them are locked. I mean, the 50-state strategy won't work anymore.
I agree with you. So
It's not like they didn't have time to figure that all out.
Sorry, I forgot to put your mic up.
Interesting.
So he's got a third point.
Finally, I think we've got to go at them. I don't think we should be back on our hind legs on health care.
Yep.
I don't think we should let them define that fight. I think we should go at them on the minimum wage and some of these economic issues that go right to the heart of people's pocketbooks. I think we ought to talk directly to women who are very receptive to the Democratic message.
Okay, so the third thing, he finally got around to some kind of policies. Did you notice that? He's like, we can women and abortion and reproductive rights. And the thing that Democrats need to do is be ardent defenders of Medicare and Social Security. Those are winners, just like the minimum wage. Winners. Winning nothing. 80% of everybody's for all those things. But yet we still have Democrats who want to cut Social Security and Medicare because it makes them feel like a grown-up, because that's what grown-ups do. So,
by the way, I think right after he says all that, we need to do this. He's going to say, but we're not going to really do those.
We're not going to really do.
We're going to kind of
Yeah.
piece something together, and we'll win a couple of.
Yeah.